I wish I could take it back. You know, I wish I would have did something that night to stop it. I'm sure Todd feels the same way, but I can't do nothing. You know, I wish I could. I'd take the bullets out of them and put them in me rather than have them dead. The phone calls are only 10 minutes. That's hard. So when you use the phone, it's only 10 minutes. It takes like 3. Yeah, I'm getting used to it. It's almost been 2 years. It's been 21 and a half months exactly. So. Yeah.
Is it good?
That ain't too bad.
Well, this is It's only when you know the rules, it's only when you know what your leverage is, it's only when you understand that process that you can really be effective. And it takes a little time to learn it. And when I learned that process was when I think I became much more of a presence in the Senate. It took me a good 6 or 7 months to learn it. Thank you so much. I'm doing fine. How are you doing? I'm good.
On Thursday night, February 2nd, an employee at Super 1 on Burning Tree Road in Duluth had the window of his car pried open and his CD player stolen. The week before, another employee had his car entered and lost some personal items from the back seat. These were just 2 of at least 5 car prowls reported to the Duluth police in the last month. The thieves target the parking lots along the Miller Hill corridor late at night, where some cars are left unattended for long periods of time. They steal almost anything, but seem to like stereo equipment. The losses so far have totaled over $1,500. Crime Stoppers will pay up to $1,000 to find out who these thieves are and recover the stolen property. We don't ask the caller's name, so they always remain anonymous. Our telephone numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
Is Felix the cat there?
Remember what we did on Monday? When we went down to...
You come to see what the kids do, you know, and go to their classes like this year, and I really enjoy it.
Most of them are growing right now as the road's taking me. Where, you know, a week and a half ago we were at 30 to 40 below, and then last week we wind up with almost 100-degree shift or 80-degree shift. We get up to 40 above where the water's running down. Well, the patches and the streets and the utilities don't do well with that much of an expansion and contraction, and something's got to give. And usually, you know, the holes in the street or patches that we've put on start breaking loose also.
The marketplace in Tuzla is bustling again. Produce, meat, and other food is in pretty good supply. While a bit expensive for the Bosnians, they're glad things, at least in this city, are returning to something resembling normal.
Biće bolje, ali još neke stvari treba da dođu na svoje mjesto.
I say it's now more food, more. Yeah, now it's good. Situation is better. He happy.
One of the many ironies here is even though many Muslims and Croats hate the Bosnian Serbs for the atrocities and ethnic cleansing they're responsible for, the Serbian folk music's very popular. It fills the air of the marketplace. Bosnian Serb tapes are for sale. As for clothing, Western wear of any kind's popular. Some of the people shopping this market are people who at one time had houses and lived in outlying areas, but now are refugees living wherever they can find makeshift quarters. Others crowd into the existing housing of high-rises built when the communists controlled this country. This relatively small city of Tuzla is bursting with more than 50,000 refugees. While Tuzla may appear to be a city rebounding from the ravages of war, one doesn't have to go far into the countryside to see the damage. This is the town of Kalicia, 30 miles from Tuzla. The Bosnian Serbs shelled this city for weeks, driving the mostly Muslim residents out and to the city of Tuzla. We're told this town once was a vibrant place, but now what once were shops and apartments is ruins as far as one can see. This message scrawled on a wall, "Welcome to hell," seems to best sum it up. Just outside town are the front lines.
What's that? Some here is soldiers, and
All right.
we can go walk.
Fearing his red vehicle might attract attention, we walk to the front lines. We come upon an empty bunker, leaving us to question whether we were walking past the front line into the Serbian side. Then we hear a burst of machine gun fire from the hills. That's Serbian-held territory over there. As we head back into Kalicia, we're stopped by other Bosnian army troops wanting to make sure we are who we claimed we were.
Do you have a visitor card?
We have a UN pass and passport, so after seeing those and a few more questions, we're allowed to proceed. Proceed through just one of many towns that was ravaged by war, a war that claimed some 200,000 lives, and it's in a country that's about 1/4 the size of Minnesota. So after years of hatred and killings, a fragile peace remains in place. But the big question is, once the peacekeepers leave, will they return to the days of old? More killings, more destruction.
And he had his fist like this, and he said, "I'd kill you if I could get away with it. I'd put your head right through that wall."
This woman doesn't want you to know her name, but she does want you to hear her story. After 17 years of marriage, she could tell when she was about to be abused.
That when he starts, it's like, you know what's coming, and you freeze. And the fear that that brings up in you is probably the hardest thing to overcome.
But she says a new device has made her life much easier.
You have to depress it on both sides for the system to be activated.
This pendant will automatically call police whenever it's pressed. The ADT security company is giving them to people in abusive relationships. ADT says 21 lives have already been saved with pendants in other cities.
She was away from the home. She was at work, and her ex-husband came to the house with an arsenal of knives. Her children were home. They pushed the button, they ran upstairs, they hid under a bed, and in a very dramatic ending to this whole thing, the police pulled into the driveway at the same time the woman arrived home from work.
This woman says even though she's never had to use her pendant, she's glad it's there.
Because supposing he did break in, and I didn't have any way of getting help, where I live, the location of the house, that sort of thing, nobody would necessarily hear me if I screamed.
She thinks other victims should get one if their lives are dominated by fear.
Peace of mind is the single biggest contribution that it gives you.
Michael Brudell for NBC News.
I will lead the fight against Buchananism in the Republican Party because it is wrong for our party, and it is wrong for our country, and it is wrong for our future.
There's just one step being taken after another to make sure that we're finding this cure and this treatment, and we're so close.
Okay, these are all bill meals though, right?
Some are, some aren't.
Okay.
I mean, it's already in the funding to do this. We didn't budget to create this ordinance. It comes in from the east, right along this way. Okay. Right here is the boat launch. An ordinance is drafted, then perhaps we will launch. It means half of the trail is gravel, suitable for ATVs and even horses, and the other half of the trail is paved, suitable for hiking, bicycling, inline skating, and so on. And essentially, we're looking to promote courtesy between all the users, among all the users. And what we're finding is that some of the motorized use is a little bit faster than we'd like to see. For example, I know that the warden John Kroll, investigated a head-on collision last fall of 2 ATVs on the trail.
And you think that might have been preventable?
Right now, it's hard to say. It's a little shocked, a little amazed, you know, but what do you do? Where do you start? Where do you go?
Gary Barr is the owner of this place that once sold Showcase lighting supplies. All that's left now is burned rubble and memories. Firefighters say the fire broke out at this 3-store plaza in early morning hours. It took about 2 hours and close to 25 people to help put out the fire. Lance Kokel explains what they saw when they arrived on the scene.
When we arrived, there was smoke coming the whole length of the building, and all the businesses coming from the eaves, and inside the buildings were filled with smoke. Most of the heat appeared to be in this building here by the looks of the glass.
Barr's lighting shop was not the only business affected. Both the insurance company and the carpet stores suffered smoke and soot damage to their products. The owner of Stahl's Carpet says he believes the damage could be close to hundreds of thousands of dollars to recover. The Virginia Fire Department says they do not know the exact cause of the fire, but an investigation will start tomorrow.
We're just going to wait and see, step by step.
In Virginia, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
Where's that?
I talked, it was just sick to the stomach that could happen, you know, to such a nice family. You hear about it on like your news all the time, you know, someplace else, and you don't ever think it's going to happen here. And when it hit here, it hit home.
Who's coming?
I think it's Chief guy.
Fire chief? Okay, that's cool. Thanks.
In January, an armed robber came into North Shore Bank of Commerce, stealing an undisclosed amount of money, and escaped through the skywalk. Just yesterday, a man walked into First Bank downtown with his hands in his pockets and demanded money from the teller. He also escaped through a skywalk. These two incidents have raised some concerns about security in the walkways. Duluth Police Chief Scott Lyons says they plan to work with local businesses on how to make downtown safer.
We're going to try some innovative things and see what happens, and we're very encouraged by the businesses and the people that work downtown wanting to do something, safety walks, crime watches, things like that, for a core area of a downtown city.
Police say working with downtown businesses for solutions to this problem may be cost-effective and site-hardening, which is making the business not quite as easy of a target as it may be now. This is the second bank robbery where the robber has escaped through a skywalk. This may or may not be a coincidence, but bank officials say that how the robber escaped isn't the issue.
Yeah, I think the skywalk's there just like the sidewalks there.
You know, you could be out in one of the neighborhood branches just like you are downtown, and there's a risk of doing business.
In the past, the police have caught many bank robbers. They say it's just a matter of figuring out why they're using the skywalks.
It's just a matter of what's going on, why do they think this is such a neat idea to rob the banks, and in this case, to utilize the skywalk system as a getaway point. But we've got some things in mind, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if it makes any difference.
What's your first name?
And you can feed it yourself. That's all. Okay, that's very important too. And then you just feed it. Yeah, just feed it in. Okay, I thank you. Have a good day.
Harming the environment. Well, they got to use them too. They don't want to tear them up. So there's got to be. We'll go to the county board meeting and see what can be done. But the highway commissioner had mentioned that it was only a handful of people. It's quite obvious that this was a pretty big handful. Well, if everybody puts stuff.
80,000 pounds, Class A work here. I built this winter at 150 feet where I'm logging wool. Saved a lot of it.
Sure.
For the
Bonjour, my name is Suzanne Goodwin, and I will hopefully be talking there too. But anyways, with all that, I'm just really totally nervous.
In this community, change can only be accomplished by numbers, and holding police officers accountable for their conduct must be the goal.
That have been victimized, that have spoke up in the past, but it is the procedure of this town.
Indians, when they start treating people of color with some respect, we all gain, and also all of our civil rights are
was apparently there was a chase plane following the one that went down, and they notified the tower, so they knew where it happened.
There were 2 planes up?
Well, if it was a test plane, I suppose that's what they do. I'm not familiar with their procedures. You could probably get that information from Cirrus. No, right now we don't know anything about how it happened or why it happened. FAA will come up, and I'm sure that's their job, is to determine what happened. Plane it was a Cirrus plane, though.
What advice do you have to mothers?
The main advice I have for parents is they really need to familiarize themselves with the world their teenagers live in. Watch MTV, go to skating rinks and malls, go to slasher movies, Terminator movies, listen to the music, listen to the way teenagers talk.
This is very nice. It's the first year I've ever been here, and it's very nice. I'll come again.
Thank you. I'll come back and collect the pencils.
We had had a lot of problems. Mr. Beggs was under indictment for some previous work. We had a brand new acting administrator. We were leading.
Mr. 4 Delta Bravo, turn right heading 310. There's several VFR targets.
Well, it has flown very successfully without incident until this particular circumstance, but that's why you go through testing, is to test that aircraft and see how it performs under extreme conditions.
We would certainly learn very important information on the origin of the solar system, because this stuff is very old. It's been a snowball for 4.5 billion years.
Over 90% of all poisonings reported occur at home, and more than half of these occur in children under the age of 6. Virtually all of these are unintentional and could have been prevented. When we think of poison in our home, we immediately think of the obvious dangers, like insecticides and cleaning products. But over 40% of all poisonings involve some type of medication, including common over-the-counter products in unexpected places.
Although most parents make an effort to keep toxic substances out of the reach of children, accidental poisonings still occur. They often happen when a medication or another product is left on the kitchen counter or in an unlocked cabinet.
The latest annual report from the American Association of Poison Control Centers reports over 423,000 cases of medication overdose in children under age 6. One of the most serious and common culprits is the over-the-counter drug acetaminophen.
Although generally safe and effective when used as directed, some commonly used medications with acetaminophen, such as aspirin, freanacin, Excedrin, or Tylenol, can be toxic to the liver if taken in excess. Not only should these medicines be kept out of the reach of children, adults also should exercise caution when using these products. You should also be aware that if you generally consume 3 or more alcohol-containing drinks per day, you should consult your physician for advice on when and how you should take any acetaminophen-containing product.
The American College of Emergency Physicians offers the following tips to remind you to be alert to everyday poisonings, especially if you have young children or grandchildren who come to visit. Never leave children unattended. Store and lock all medicines and other potentially toxic substances out of the reach of children. Keep all medications in their original containers. Read all labels thoroughly, and be aware that child-resistant does not mean child-proof. Here's to your health. Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
You're getting there. Okay. Are these states chicks?
When we pay money to go here, it's hard enough coming to Duluth, coming to this university, knowing what we're facing, and they will print stuff like this, and it creates a hostile environment for us to live in.
That nobody else on the campus who all paid for it wanted to read the Pair to You.
And a supposedly good issue. We're kind of like BSA came down to get everyone that's been affected by the issues this year's and in the past.
For Women's Coalition? Actually, we do more of just going down there and working with their kids or just kind of giving them a break from their kids and whatnot. But we only do this once a year, and this is the first time we've actually done it for Women's Coalition. So, yeah, it's a one-shot deal pretty much, but we do help them in other ways when we can.
The CDBG program has been eminently important in the revitalization of a share of 1996 funds for these programs.
To join you for this, I'm going back up to Chisholm.
We can especially celebrate the fact that this is one of the few programs that is still available to specifically serve low and moderate income persons and households across the nation. And we hope that in spite of the budget cuts at the federal level, that it will continue intact in the future.
Lewis County, so that it will have an entire city where the trees have grown up. But you can look north to the families, have a better quality of life. In a few hours, I'll be back.
39 CDBG projects which were selected and approved for funding by the Duluth City Council for 1996.
that, and we can't do them all.
Do you try to?
Affirmative action, it's about making certain that readers. It's a good place to have publishing also.
Another reason is because some of the presses in this state are nonprofit, and Minnesota is nonprofit heaven. I mean, it's true in the whole country. Everywhere I go, people talk about the opportunities in Minnesota. Some presses have moved to Minnesota because they have more opportunity for grants here than they do elsewhere in the United States.
That, and we can't do them all.
Do you try?
Not making more money. That was great.
You have a copy of this complaint? It's received, yes. Okay. Manufactured a firebomb. This is a class.
The investigation's still getting completed. We'll probably be consulting with the fire department based on the bomb squad reports, just to make sure we know exactly what we're dealing with. And it'll take a couple, probably a week or so, at least up until that preliminary hearing date, to find out what more we can learn about the kids and their families and their backgrounds.
Well, that's when we have the other one.
That we just broke.
I think it's pretty amazing. It's been one heck of a winter.
Time for spring though.
Well, listen, I like the snow because I'm from Florida.
Oh, you?
Yes, I'm new here.
Taste of Texas. It's the taste of Texas. Ice cubes, please.
Taxes have increased 175,000% over the last 83 years.
So I think it's clear we don't have a limited tax code. We have an unlimited Congress and unlimited president.
Oh, I have no problem with it whatsoever. I think it's probably the politically correct thing to do, and state statute says that we do this, and if the people in those areas have no major objections to making the changes, I certainly support it.
Is there support? Support. Moved by Commissioner Forsman, supported by Commissioner Rocker. Is there any discussion? Motion.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lee, Pat.
Thank you. In front of us, we just received, and we used numbers that were given to us by.
We will now pause 168 seconds of silence as we remember the 168 people, including 19 children, who were killed in the Oklahoma City bombing that occurred 1 year ago today.
I didn't really think a lot about it at the time, and then it jumped from toe to toe. And it was at that point that I began to seek medical care.
Hal Turrentine is a registered nurse who spends lots of time on his feet and his free time on the beach. Until recently, though, he refused to wear sandals, fearing people would notice his fungal nail disease. Symptoms include hard, thick yellow nails, debris under nails, and detachment of nails.
It's the same funguses that cause athlete's foot can cause nail fungus. And we think that that's one of the factors. Certainly it can be picked up in locker room situations and health clubs and so on.
Dr. Thomas Holm has been treating dermatology problems for over 20 years in Duluth. He says problems with nail fungus have increased significantly in recent years, coinciding with our efforts to get physically fit.
The toenail fungus produces nails that are extremely thick at times, not always, but at times, and this can actually become painful, and in people who are running and walking and so on, it can affect, particularly with certain kinds of shoes and so on, it can be painful.
Nail trauma allows fungus to get a foothold, so to speak. Not surprisingly, a recent survey of marathon runners indicated 39% had symptoms of fungal nail disease. Until recently, medical treatment for this disease could take several years, and in some cases, the disease would reappear. Now, a newer generation of internal medications are helping thousands take their shoes off without embarrassment in a matter of months.
They have an affinity for the tissue that the fungus is attacking, and so we get much higher concentrations in the tissues, and so the treatment is much shorter. It's often just 2 or 3 or 4 months as opposed to a couple of years, and then it's much less likely to recur.
It's important to note there are other conditions that can mimic fungal nail disease, including psoriasis and circulation problems.
It's best to consult your doctor who will make the proper diagnosis. If it is nail fungus, you may be a candidate for the new generation of oral drugs now giving people happier and healthier feet. Here's to your health. Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
The latest site to go online is called Who Where. And the best news is Who Where is absolutely free, although they'd like you to register and get a password. It's aimed at helping you locate email addresses by simply filling in the name of the person you're looking for. If you aren't sure how to spell a name, do the best you can. Don't worry, you can type in what you know, and Who Where will find matches based on strings of 2 or more characters. You can even search on initials if you want. Now you end up with a long list of could-bes. Some of them are marked relevant, others possible. You can also search by organization. If it has a web page, you'll get that address too. Who Where says it gets its listings from public sources, but they won't say exactly how many listings they currently have. But the program does allow you to enter your information and to provide as much detail as you want, like a snail mail address and a phone number. The other recently announced new email search site on the web is called the 411 Directory, and it lets you do some searches for free, but for real detailed and extra effort lookups, they want you to pay them $4 a year. That's cheap, but it's not free. These internet address finding sites are spotty at best. I tried plugging in about a dozen people who I know are wired with email addresses, and it only found successfully about 5 of them. Still, as more people get involved, you can probably expect that success rate to climb. If you want to get connected right now, go to the NetSurfing page in the World Wide Web. There's our address right on the screen, and we've built in links directly to both of these searching programs. Till next time, I'm Mike Wendland for NetSurfing.
In the Rose Garden. And that ought to tell you something about where teachers will stand in the ultimate measure of things. Their friends and family members, and to Senator Wellstone, Senator Graves, Congressman Mengy, and to the educators and their, I think you know, I have been away now for some days on a trip which literally took me around the world, from Korea to Japan to Russia. And before I make the remarks I'd like to make in honor of our Teacher of the Year and her counterparts here, I think it's important to comment on a couple events that are unfolding now here in Washington. Let me begin with a compliment to the Congress for working in a bipartisan way for the American people. Last week, Congress passed
The first blades of green grass are swaying in the warmer winds when they're blowing off the lake, of course. Gardening and weather work together. Our short growing season runs from mid-May to mid-September. Our average minimum temperatures will be rising quickly, but will fall just as fast by September. This makes it essential to have a plan to make our 16-week garden season a productive one. April is a time for planning and education. There are many books and magazines available to help you to get started. If you see something that catches your eyes, cut it out, save it, and place it in our special planning folder.
Well, I think the first thing you can do is plan ahead. Know what you're going to landscape this year, or you want to landscape, and plan ahead. So you've looked at your catalogs, you've picked out some of your favorite plants.
Choose suitable plants by knowing what hardiness zone you live in. Notice Zone 4 is by the lake and Zone 3 away from the lake. These zones are based on annual minimum temperatures. By knowing your zone, it will help you know exactly when to plant or harvest your plants and vegetables. To get our plan into motion, we will need a tape measure and notepad. Measure how big your plot of land will be for the garden and write it down. Pound stakes into the ground to give yourself a clear picture of the garden to be. If you don't have stakes, you could use a garden hose. To start your plan, simply sketch a map of what plants you want in the garden. That way your plants won't choke out each other. Plants do better when there is more air circulation available and actually protects them from insects and other pests that can cause disease or kill them. So remember, draw the plants as if they were already full grown. Now that we have a plan, we are ready to dig for success. I'm meteorologist Mickey Prangley, Channel 6 News.
Another pen. Come on up here. Good job, guys. Great.
I need at least a...
County board chair, George Stanton.
Well, we're running out of pens, so County Board.
He was just a little bit partisan, and I want to be just a little bit partisan and say, Governor, that I think you would agree that
holding out a great deal of hope that Congress and the President of the United States can adopt what the National Governors Organization came up with. We have reached an agreement on welfare reform in this country. All we have to do now is to get
23-ounce porterhouse bone-in tenderloin.
Noon rush hour at Jack's Cafe in Minneapolis. On a busy night, Jeff Garley grills as many as 200 steaks.
Are you ready to roll on ticket number 51?
Today, it's well-done steaks that are being grilled by the National Cancer Institute. Researchers there say grilling meat too long or at too high a temperature could be dangerous. A closer look at a piece of steak shows that when protein inside the meat is heated to a high temperature, it can create cancer-causing agents, according to the National Cancer Institute. And burning meat on the outside, the agency says, introduces yet another cancer-causing agent. Many restaurants like Jack's take care not to overcook or burn their steaks, even though more and more customers are asking for their cuts to be cooked well done.
That's great.
Not Dave Angel. His steak is medium rare. He takes today's news with a grain of salt.
Seems like everybody's got some propaganda, and there's probably something coming out next week to counter this, or there's a reason for it. And I think a little bit of moderation might be the guy's best way of looking at it.
Eric Olson for NBC News.
I know. I was wondering what.
Be done. And I just love it, love the lake walk, so I want to keep it clean for all the people coming to see it and the rest of us that live here and like to use it, so.
More than 100,000 Wisconsin children are addicted to tobacco products. No longer considered a habit that many kids will go through, cigarette smoking now is considered one of the most risky activities to which our children are exposed.
It is the leading addiction among children in our state. It's unfortunately a gateway drug to the use of alcohol and illegal drugs. It's a major problem that we need to address today.
For kids in trouble, the first illegal drug used is often cigarettes. Cigarette sales to minors are illegal, but every day in Wisconsin, 120 kids under the age of 18 will take their first puff of smoke. 60 of those kids will go on to a lifetime of use.
The saddest fact of all is that of these kids, 30 of them will ultimately die of diseases directly caused by cigarettes.
Tobacco addiction is the leading preventable cause of death in Wisconsin, killing more people than homicide, suicide, car accidents, drugs, fires, and AIDS combined.
The Center for Tobacco Research and Intervention at UW Medical School in Madison is urging stronger enforcement of tobacco laws aimed at minors. It's also calling for strict enforcement of current state laws prohibiting the use of tobacco in schools. Here's To Your Health, Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
in this state. A brand new fish hatchery since 1939. We remodeled the Spooner one in the 60s, and we need more fish. I always said, you know, Minnesota brags about having 10,000 lakes. We have 15,000 lakes in our state, and we have fish in ours.
To deal with prisoners, it would be helpful if maybe they looked at the tactics that the military uses to get people in line.
Some people have complained that keeping someone in prison is expensive at $20,000 per inmate per year. But I'm perfectly willing to pay for that because it's far more expensive to allow a violent criminal to return to society.
It's easy to criticize prisoners. A lot of them are victims of their situations.
Purchase of equipment that otherwise we probably couldn't get. So it does alleviate some of the tax burden for asking taxpayers for more money to buy particular kinds of equipment. And this allows us to put a little money into that fund and be able to buy some things that otherwise we just wouldn't be able to do.
Different birds to your area.
Do you think that would poison a little kid if he ate it? Rachel, have you seen that?
Minnesota Duluth. And we come in once a week and teach. I see 100 students a day sometimes, and we do 50-minute projects with the kids and stressing environmental education aspects. So hanging the bird feeders and the boxes is just one thing that we've done today.
I would have to wait until someone came to turn on the lights in my apartment. Otherwise, I was left sitting in the dark.
Oh, we got a picture of him, so you ain't got... There you go.
Cowboy hat or something.
Yeah, he's gonna come on this way, kind of. Yep. There you go. Go there, then yeah. Setter.
What we have with Indian women in particular is that by the time they're diagnosed with cancer, it's already very advanced and it already involves more of the chest wall. And at that point, it's much more difficult to treat and to treat successfully.
This recent landmark summit and teleconference on breast cancer early detection attracted several Northland representatives eager to convince low-income and minority women to have regular mammograms. Mammograms are the best method of detecting breast cancer in its early and treatable stages. At first, many had thought the cost of the test was the sole reason preventing women from having them. But now experts have identified several other barriers.
But what we're finding out as we're providing free mammograms and Pap tests, that it's not only cost, it's fear that they might actually have breast cancer, fear that the mammogram is going to hurt, maybe transportations, they just don't have a ride there, or possibly they have children and they don't have anyone to watch their children.
Dr. Burhan Stepanoff, who works with Native American women in Colorado, says tribal custom may also create barriers.
You have so many different types of tribes that are in Minnesota, and they are quite different in their beliefs. But one of the tribes in particular believes that if you're diagnosed with breast cancer, that you should wear the disease as an honor, that you do not seek Western medicine treatment for it, that you use just traditional treatment, and that what you do with the pain and discomfort, that you are taking the pain and discomfort for your tribe.
The doctor adds that's a minority viewpoint, one that's losing support with the development of women-to-women education.
To use people going out within their own community to recruit and bring women in for screening, because early detection is our best way of treating breast cancer. Right now we don't know how to prevent it, so early detection is the best thing we can do.
That grassroots woman-to-woman effort is paying off among low-income and minority populations nationwide.
Morning, ladies.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
Dolores Jones knew that yearly mammograms, clinical breast exams, and monthly breast self-exams could detect cancer and potentially save her life. Yet until Dorothy Thompson came to her quilting sessions at a senior center in Texas, she put off getting screened.
I'm going to make an appointment this month. All right. Hooray, hooray. I'm calling you. All right. And you have to go with me.
The Abilene program that reached Dolores worked because it targeted the population in need, in this case, older African-American women. It also created culturally relevant partnerships to link women with those who they trust.
And when we get over 50, we are supposed to have a mammogram every year. It's very important that we do that.
It's that type of one-on-one encouragement the Center for Disease Control and the cosmetic giant Avon hope to stimulate. Avon has already pledged its sales force to provide breast screening information to its customers. This recent landmark summit and teleconference, which included Northland health providers, is another step toward understanding and lifting barriers that prevent women from being screened. The Center for Disease Control reminds women regular mammograms, clinical breast exams, and breast self-exams help detect breast cancer in its early stages. If breast cancer is diagnosed early, the vast majority of women can be successfully treated. Here's To Your Health. Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
So it's a very important provision. Second thing we've done, which is important in an area forward legislatively, again, it's the continuing advancing of...
Hello, I'm Darrell Dacus, and I'd like to welcome you to this national...
Have been fighting for quite a number of years. It's important that people understand that domestic violence is a crime that is going to be treated in a criminal way. That it is not going to be accepted in our society. There aren't going to be jokes about it. Cute little thing that we every now and then laugh about. It is a very serious matter, and it is a violent crime, and it's going to be treated as such.
Might it be a value instead of signaling?
It's sleeping out pretty bad now.
When you have an open demolition site on top, you allow the water to come in, and then it encourages migration off-site of the chemicals. So that's what I'm and several other people are concerned about, the migration. And then we have two homes that are fairly close to this landfill that I'm concerned about the homeowners and their drinking water.
Mm-hmm. Have the homeowners
whether it be home improvement, home purchase, tenants' rights, fair housing, and we group the people together and have them here at the housing fair, and it's a good resource. And
the downside is, of course, that the business is leaving and the jobs are leaving, and I guess if there's any brightness in it, Douglas County at least will get most of its money back.
For the next 2 days, starting tomorrow, there will be training for conservation officers for a 2-day session. We also have jurisdictional issues, a panel, educational panel to encourage more youth to participate.
Well, I'm taking 10 this morning, and then I'll take 1 tonight.
She may not look it, but Jennifer Stover is terminally ill. Almost 2 decades of liver disease have done irreparable damage to her liver, heart, and lungs. And doctors at the Mayo Clinic now say her only chance for long-term survival is a rare triple organ transplant.
They did a lot of testing here and then told me that, yes, indeed, I was going to have a triple transplant. Well, it's really kind of a quadruple because they want to do both lungs. Doing one lung wouldn't suffice.
Just to find 3 organs that will fit for her is very difficult. We've already had a person on the list who's been waiting a long time who we haven't been able to find a match for.
It's a procedure that's been tried only a few times before, and never at Mayo. Jennifer is one of 2 Mayo Clinic patients who are current candidates for receiving triple transplants. The other, a young woman from Tennessee. The 2 of them have grown quite close through their shared experience. Some may question the fairness of one person possibly getting organs that could save 3 different lives.
It was an issue about 3 years ago when Governor Casey got he got a multiple organ transplants, and at that time, if you needed more than one organ, you went to the top of the list right away. And people looked at that and decided that system wasn't very fair. So what they put in place was if you came to you had to come to the top of the list for one of the organs, then you got the other organs. But we've really never had anybody say that's not fair, that she gets 3 when someone else might need that organ.
We deserve a chance to live just like anyone else. I don't feel guilty that I need 3 organs.
While Jennifer waits on a national list for matching organs to become available, she and her husband Steve have moved from their home in Prescott, Arizona to a rented house in Rochester.
She's got a chance to live here, you know, to make a better life, better quality of life. Why not do it? She's a tough lady, a real tough lady.
Something's going to come up. I may get to a point where I'm extremely ill, but I think I'm going to make it.
In Rochester, Minnesota, Lee Germanis for NBC News.
Team learned.
Ladies and gentlemen, final call. Flight 42 is service to Detroit and Frankfurt. All aboard through the doorway mark 31 for immediate departure. Thank you. Have a good flight.
Northwest Airlines. Minnesota's major link to cities and countries around the world. Advertised everywhere as the safest, #1 on-time airline. But tonight, a different look inside the 4th largest airline.
So is he a resident? Oh, he's an American. Okay, he's American, Palestinian.
No drinking. Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's off limits.
I did more from this school than I did, so why don't you get back to you first? That's big red.
Family. It's I think in the interest of everyone that we get to know these people and come to appreciate the gifts that they have.
Fellow brothers, form our government.
Get them for inhumane treatment. How's that?
No, it doesn't scare me. It just irritates me that these kids can do this and get away with it.
I think I have a greater awareness in the last few years of the problems with pesticides and herbicides, and we have a child and we have a dog, and we want to do our bit in terms of the environment.
And what are the problems with pesticides?
I think in terms of toxicity, in terms of health problems, sometimes we, animals or humans, develop.
I ask that we join in a moment of silence to remember Stacy and her family and to celebrate her accomplishments. John, Shane, Tara Lynn, Paula Anderson.
And a number of the landscape islands, the strips between grows to that is the site.
Well, some people were concerned about the quality of the material, but our test indicated as good material for this project, and there should be no environmental concerns whatsoever.
And this is just an approval for a referendum. What's the next step?
Well, in about 2 weeks, we'll have a dredge that'll show up and start dredging.
Okay, so it's ready to take action.
Yes, it is.
Great.
Here I sit in Jean's beautiful garden, and you know, for runners we have Grandma's Marathon, but for gardeners the big Flower City of the North flower bed contest is coming up. Look at these plants behind me, incredible. We have euphorbium right here, forget-me-nots behind me also, and you can see some arabis, and you can't forget the primrose or the doronicum. So the main point here is, hey, we may not have the warmest climate up here in the Northland, but we have plants that can rival anybody's, and this contest is not just for your pride and joy, but it's really for pride in your city and where you're from.
Well, the Flower City of the North contest started about 10 years ago to promote the beauty and enhancement of our city. It's to encourage businessmen and homeowners, or businesses and homeowners, to encourage them to beautify their properties and to receive recognition for that effort.
You can pick up an entry form at any local nursery or garden center or call the Department of Parks and Recreation. You need to turn in the entry form before July 19th.
And this year we're going to be publicizing the names of all the entries in the paper, so the addresses will be available for people who just want to go by and take a look, maybe spend a Sunday afternoon looking at the beautiful front yards.
This year's theme is Front Yard Beauty. Judging emphasis will be on eye appeal of your front yard, including shrubs, flowers, and other landscape features. You don't have to be an expert gardener. Last year's first place winner was a first-time entry. Jean will be looking for
some color, lots of color, maybe a point of interest, that type of thing.
I'm meteorologist Mickey Prangley, Channel 6 News.
But the best news of all is this. I never thought of a world, and it's my kind of jobs. It's my kind of jobs that get that social strata of people. That we make them productive citizens. We take them off of welfare. We've taken them out of prison. We've taken drug addicts. We've made productive citizens out of them. It's something I dedicated my life to, in addition to making money.
I was very confused. I had a sense of hopelessness, worthlessness.
That's a pretty common feeling these days among a lot of women. That's because more and more women are finding themselves in situations where they don't have a dependable income. A lot of those women have been working inside the home, raising children. Project SOAR of Duluth is a confidential resource for women in transition, women who are looking for change in their lives.
It provides more than just a very cold introduction to the workforce. What we really provide is that special touch that women particularly need and that kind of support that they can offer each other.
Sandra says there has been a significant increase in the number of displaced homemakers and single mothers with children entering the workforce. Charlene Jacot is one of those women. She sought the help of SOAR after raising 6 children. Charlene says SOAR is helping her realize her own goals.
When I was married and we were a young family at a time when women's place was still in the home, my husband didn't really want me to work.
She says working outside of the home isn't for everybody, but at SOAR, Charlene is discovering that she has more in common with women here than just the desire to start a new life. She's realized her dreams to get a degree in counseling and launch a part-time career in music with her new friend from SOAR, Kimberly Baker.
When women come through our program, especially our Getting Ready program, they not only find information, they find support.
Actually, it's pretty dead.
They started the investigation. They determined that one of the individuals here was a wanted felon. And then they noticed some guns in the house. They waited for backup squads to arrive.
Oh,
Get a medal.
We've received a copy of the complaint 96, yeah, 126. I discussed the charges with you.
1311, John. Sorry, it's within the last week.
And are you employed? Yes, sir.
In most child sexual assault cases, we don't actually catch the person in the act, which is almost what happened here. The mother of the child came upon them in his apartment and literally had to break down the door to get her daughter back, and the defendant was found naked in the apartment.
It's part of a great, great celebration. That's what it's all about, and the country celebrates by having parades. And it's a good day for those running for public office because they're here in big numbers. They become part of your family, they become part of your life, and the other part of it is too is someday I'll be closer to his family, and it's like gaining a whole new family.
The winter, well, it was long. I heard this one was an exception, but I thought it was really long, cold, and you know, it kind of forces you to stay inside, and that was kind of too bad.
The people of Ely have had enough fighting and bickering about issues concerning BWCAW and Voyageurs National Park. People we talked to said they are ready to focus on other important issues.
Let's resolve the issue and let's put it to rest once and for all. And then let's go on to deal with the real problems here where both of us have a vested interest, and that's acid rain, and that's mercury poisoning, and that's maintaining the real integrity of that place. So let's put the portages to rest, and let's move on. And let's fight the battle.
The people of Ely all say they are ready to put this issue behind them and spend more time enjoying the two parks rather than fight over their use.
I think everybody would like to see it finished. I think people are kind of saying, look, we have a town full of guests that are here that we're trying to be gracious hosts to.
Even tourism might be affected by these battling issues.
Have people not come up here? Maybe so. You know, there may have been those that said, "Whoa, I don't want to go up there because of what they read about and hear about."
The plea for peace on the part of residents we spoke with comes from the people who have had similar interruptions in their lives in the past.
This area up here, the range, the northern part of the range, Ely has always dealt with some severe situations. The weather, lifestyles, and the minings, and before that. I mean, people are hard-working people. They're used to working and making a living. This is noise. This is extra stuff to their lives. And right now, it's kind of like, let's get on with our life and let's just keep moving. You know, the issues will be solved, and they'll be solved, I think, better than ever, however that may be. But people are ready to move.
Oh, it's been the best. Definitely by far the best. We had a good time. It's amazing how welcome we are. We didn't expect quite this warm of a welcome.